One more. I got one more in me. I'm almost home, but I think I can sneak another little loaf for you. Today's loaf of bread comes to us by way of the poet Charles Bukowski, and he says the following: "You have to die a few times before you can really live." No doubt. I see what he's laying down. I'm picking it up. I don't think he's talking about literal death here, my friends. I think he's talking about ego death, spiritual death, death of the thing you thought you were in order to make room for the thing you actually are. And let me tell you something, my friends. The path that you are embarking on right now, what I like to call the spiritual path, will lead you to many such deaths. Your ego will die and be born and die and be born, and it's going to happen multiple times. And each time your ego will be born again with a little less garbage, a little less baggage. It's like every time the ego dies and is born again, it's lost a few of its favorite possessions. And this is a good thing for us, bad for the ego, but good for us. Because when the ego runs out of weapons and tools and tricks to use against us, it becomes a compliant servant, an agent for good. I know a lot of spiritual people who think that the ego is all bad. They think it has to be dissolved, destroyed, eliminated, and I say that's impossible. You can't do that. If you kill the ego, you kill the body. You kill the drive to live. The ego is a manifestation, a representation of all of our lower base instincts and drives, and it's also a manifestation of the mind gone wild, the mind that is out of control, the mind that has become the master, or the mind that has usurped the master and convinced the master that they are not in charge. You're the master. The self, the supreme self, is the master, but the ego is good. The ego is hypnotic, and thoughts are a form of hypnosis. We become hypnotized by our beliefs and our thoughts, and the ego is a part of that process. So, therefore, you have to die a bunch of times before the ego starts to lose its grip on you. The ego has to die a bunch of times before it learns its proper place as a faithful servant. And when that happens, you actually start to live. Because as I've said before, until this happens, you're not really living. Life is happening to you. You're a recipient, not an active participant. The ego is running the show, and you're just along for the ride. So thank you, Charles Bukowski. Great advice. Before you can truly be free, before you can actually start living, you have to die a few times. God bless, and thank you, Space Jesus. Well, I told you I'd get another one in. I'm so fast, I'm getting so efficient. It's probably because I just had an afternoon coffee, and when I have an afternoon coffee, I get a little... Well, thanks for joining me on the ride home, and I get tired of saying it over and over again. I try to switch it up, and every time I do, it doesn't sound right. So I'm just going to keep repeating myself like a broken record, and I will say, live well, my friends.